Now, let's move on to our next module. Module 8, coming home. So this part's so fun. So many people believe that psychedelic medicine work is about the peak experience itself. And the more I'm around this work, the more I recognize the value of integration and embodiment. That's where the actual rubber meets the road. This is how we can make deep change happen. So when we think about this homecoming, I really like to consider this idea of after the ecstasy, the laundry. There's still normal life to be done. What is required? Do you need to just go back to your practices as you normally had them? But also, this is an opportunity to increase your self-care practices. What changes are required? So, what do I mean by that? I mean that oftentimes in the medicine space, you might have an insight that I really have been drinking a lot and it's time to make a change here. That's like a sacred duty that the medicine has shared with you. That's an insight from your higher self that I think is so valuable to recall and bring to mind. So listen, if the medicine's telling you to do something, do it. Okay, do it. Just wanted to say that up close. And increasing your self-care practices, you can't go wrong here. You can't go wrong here. It's just going to help keep that experience that you had as a special, sacred part of your heart. So one of the things I also want to share is be cautious who you share your experience with. While psychedelic work is becoming more mainstream, there's still plenty of people that don't support it, that don't think it's something that one can do to actually be helpful. So hold it like a precious treasure. There are also people who will be very curious to know what your experience was like and what it's about. And so I also like to encourage people to, give the basic overview, but people don't necessarily need to know maybe some of the paradoxes that arose for you or some of the insights that you had. There might be things that you don't really even understand for a while. You might have to actually sit with that process for a while before it starts to make sense and make meaning to you, and allow yourself the gift of that experience to make it make some sense. So that's the coming home portion. But let's talk a little bit of some longer term stuff. A lot of people have a really powerful experience and want to just dive back in right again because it's so insightful, perhaps, or maybe you didn't go quite deep enough and you want to do more. So understand biologically, many of these psychedelics don't work right away after you've taken them the first time, which is one of the reasons that they are not addictive, is you just can't get the same robust experience. Like if you took psilocybin one day and then the next day and the next day, you're going to have diminishing returns over time. It won't be as impactful. So first of all, that's one biological thing. The second thing is, I think it's really crucial to integrate and embody the information and insights that you gained from this experience. That isn't being prescriptive around how frequently your time might be. Sometimes people need to do a couple journeys a little more closer together. I've had that experience with my clients that work with ketamine, where we need to do a little bit more, and then it can get spaced out. But it's really important to be aware. Are you chasing the dragon? Are you just on like the more experience gathering? Are you trying to escape a little bit? Or is this truly part of your growth? And I cannot answer that for you. My role as a psychedelic integration coach and helping you prep for those things is to help create a container where you can have a dialogue with yourself about it. And I can kind of help you examine all areas. I think you can have a really powerful insight around the appropriate time frame for yourself. But remember that these changes require practice and time. So if you got a download from your journey that you need to meditate every day for 10 minutes, you need to fucking meditate every day for 10 minutes. You know, it needs to be more than like 3 days that you tried it before you go back to the medicine space. And I'm telling you this from personal experience where I've had journeys where the medicine's like, what are you even doing here? I already told you, go do the thing. I'm like, oh, yes, I need to go do the thing. So just a little perspective from my end. Other questions about integration and embodiment. Depending on the experience, sometimes people have a really big experience. Perhaps you travel to Peru and do ayahuasca, or you find a toad practitioner and you work with 5-MeO-DMT, which are some really big, impactful medicines. The suggestion and recommendation is to not have really big family life plans that you need to make right around that time, because they can be influenced by the experience, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I have seen people that kind of turn into psychedelic evangelicists after they've had a powerful experience and really like want to really shake things up and get divorced and move to another country and do all this stuff, when if they just recognize that impulse and embodied some of the practice a little bit more, they might not have made those choices. Maybe they would have, but maybe they wouldn't have. So if you can give yourself a little room to really pack the things into your life and the practices in and the inquiry in and the self-reflection, I think ultimately that's going to be more impactful for you. I also strongly recommend, if you're trying to embody what you're learning, find a community that can support you through that. I'm not saying go join a cult. I'm saying maybe connect to other psychedelic communities or people that are doing the work of transformation. People in my group, for example, doing the work of transformation. There's other groups, there's other practices. Maybe you want to join a meditation group or something like that. That's something that can give you that sense of community, can be really, really helpful in this way.